If you're thinking about selling your car, then this video will be perfect for you because I'm going to show you how to prepare, advertise and safely sell your car privately from the first wash to the final handover. I'm making this video because I know I keep saying it, but the time really has come to sell the Audi TT. We have 3 cars, it doesn't ever get used, and it's not fair leaving it sitting here. And not to mention it's costing money to tax and insure it every month, so it makes total sense to prep it for sale. I would say there's 2 sides to selling your car privately. The good news is you can cut out the middleman, you've got a bit more control over the asking price, and you can potentially make more money. But then on the flip side of that, you are the person who is solely responsible for that car, making sure that you give it a good service, get everything prepped up, so a nice clean up before you take the images. Then you've got to list it online, and then you have to deal with people either trying to haggle you down or even worse, trying to scam you. Admittedly, this process will take more effort than simply accepting the trade-in price. However, if you follow the steps in this video, you'll be able to justify the price that you're after. So let's get cracking with step number 1. Before you even think about spending any money on an advert, inspect the car as if you were the buyer. If the car is due a service or its MOT is about to expire, sorting it before the sale can make it more appealing to the next buyer. But be realistic, spending £1,000 repairing issues on a £2,000 car probably won't give you that money back. So sometimes it's best to just be honest and openly describe those faults and put a price based on those issues. Now, what you shouldn't do is hide the problem. In my opinion, MOTs mean nothing if the car isn't roadworthy. So anything safety related, make sure you deal with it. And also don't forget there could be other hidden issues which inspecting a car on somebody's driveway may not reveal. Another thing you can do is take out a carVertical report on your own car because as an honest seller, providing a report can give your buyers more confidence that you're not trying to hide anything from its past. And to prove it, that's exactly what I've done. As you can see here, my car has got green ticks to prove there's no outstanding finance, it's never been stolen, and the mileage is legit. However, there is one warning, and I do like this feature. It tells you this car has high emissions, so it does mean that it will be in a higher tax band. And this goes to prove how little I've driven it since January. So when it had its previous MOT, it was recorded at 153,667. Right now in August, it's at 154,143. So that is about 470 odd miles I've done in about 8 months. Really, anytime you buy a used car, it's the first place you should visit to make sure you don't buy a car that's crashed or stolen or even clocked. Now for an example of a bad carVertical report, check out this Audi TT. The mileage checks out, it's got no finance on it, and it hasn't been stolen, but what it has got is a report for damage. So if we scroll down, you can see in these pictures, whoa, that really has been in a nasty crash, hasn't it? There's no amount of polish that could ever fix that. But at least you're going to have the knowledge now to make the right decision before exchanging any money. So make sure you save yourself the aggro when buying a used car, van or motorbike first when you use the carVertical app. Plus you can get yourself a generous 20% discount when you use the code EPIC20 at the checkout. And save up to 50% discount when purchasing multiple reports. Right, come on in, let's get this car cleaned. This is the part most people underestimate. A buyer cannot see how carefully you change the oil, but they can immediately see filthy wheels, smeary glass and years of crumbs on the floor. As a professional detailer, it pains me to say this, but the last thing you want to do is make your car look brand new. For me, it's all about showing the buyer that you've got a well-maintained vehicle, and then you want to give them this little indication that there is potential to make it look even better. So as long as they're happy and they look at it and go, yeah, this car's been well looked after, it's a good start. Now, in terms of getting the car cleaned, you can either do it yourself or pay a professional to come over and sort it out for you. Now, for me, there's a couple of downfalls of both of these options. Number one, if you wanted to clean the car yourself, you've got to make sure you've got all the chemicals to do the job properly. And you need the right resources. You need pressure washers, you need vacuum cleaners. There's many things and it starts adding up. So if you were doing this for a one-off and you had to buy all your tools, how much is that going to cost you before you've even cleaned the car? And then you have to factor in the time it's going to take to do it. If you're not a professional detailer, how long would it take you to even clean that car? I would say at minimum it's going to take you a good day. So then you've got to ask yourself, how much is your time worth? Now, another option is to get it professionally detailed, which means you don't have to buy anything, you've just got to pay the professional to carry out a successful clean. The only downfall about this is the average cost for a good full valet could be anywhere from £100 to £300, and that's before we start factoring in machine polishing. So then you really do have to ask yourself, how much time and money are you going to invest in something that you're not going to be keeping? Now, there is one more option. You could just take it to the hand car wash. It's not going to look amazing, but I often find that if you do take it there, it can actually make your car look worse because they cover everything in silicone, and then it just shows that maybe you don't care about your car after all. And don't forget that when it does come to selling the vehicle, you're going to find people will try to haggle you down. So factor in your time, the money that you've got to invest in getting the car cleaned, and be prepared to lose a few quid if you get your pricing wrong. It's time to give the car its last wash, and I did want to stick to the basics, so I broke out an alkaline wheel cleaner and sprayed the alloys and tyres. And to be honest, they didn't really require any scrubbing as the Audi hasn't moved in months, so it was mainly light dirt from the farm to contend with. With the wheels complete, I quickly jumped onto the pre-wash and the snow foam. And I know this all looks excessive, but it really isn't. Right, let me quickly get out of the direct sunlight for a moment. So I just want to quickly talk about pressure washers because they do get a bad reputation. People say they use a lot of water, but that couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, on average, pressure washers use around 50% less than a traditional garden hose. Now, we had a few options here. We could have just rinsed the car off initially to try and break down some of that loose dirt, but I think it's pointless. And you're going to be using a lot more water. So instead, what we used was a citrus pre-wash and a snow foam. I used 50 mils of snow foam, 350 mils of water, and exactly the same for the pre-wash as well, which means I've used about 800 mils in total just to carry out the pre-wash in terms of covering the vehicle. And then we had to rinse it off, but it still used far less than a garden hose. I gave the bodywork a light rinse before breaking out the car shampoo. Thankfully, I had enough shade and it was a pleasant temperature to work in today. And just for the record, I have made 2 huge videos on how to wash your car at home that covers with and without using a hose pipe, so I will leave links in the description below. With the car back inside, I needed to get it bone dry to avoid any water spotting occurring. Lovely, so the car is looking phenomenal, I must say, but I still want to give it a bit more pop. We need that wow factor. So to make it look a bit fresher, we're going to be adding some gloss, and we're even going to dress the tyres as well. In terms of the bodywork, it's very difficult to say, let's give the car a quick polish. We can't actually do that because there's still contamination on there. We're talking about things like industrial fallout, we've got road tar, just to name a few. So it means that if we wanted to start polishing it properly, we're going to have to break out the clay bar, which involves more money, more skill and more time. So instead, we're going to just spray a ceramic detailer on top and then dress the tyres. And trust me, it will make a huge difference. A few sprays later, the bodywork was looking fresh again and the tyres started to look presentable, ready for the next steps. Nice, so the car's looking, I would say, fairly good considering we gave it a basic wash. Now will be the perfect opportunity to get the camera out and take some pictures. Take as many pictures as you can because buyers need to see the car in its truest form, from all angles. But there is one trap which may get you the wrong kind of attention. I can see a bit of a problem here, and it's not the car itself, it's the pictures that I'm producing, because in the photos, it looks phenomenal. It's a rich, vibrant cherry red, and I think when people come here, they expect to get that colour, but then what they're left with is quite a dull burgundy. It's not a very nice colour, and I got this car very cheap, so that's why I purchased it. It was definitely not a colour choice for me. And I think that was the reason why when I previously tried to sell the car before, people just weren't interested. I think with all this AI technology and mobile phones nowadays, it's making things look so exaggerated and better than they actually are. Once you have enough pictures, it's time to get all your paperwork ready. I'm just putting together my advert. I'm going to keep this nice and simple. I don't want to be giving them a live story. Let's just put all the information that they need to know. Make, mileage, transmission, service history, MOT, anything that's relevant to the sale. I'm not going to be putting things like first to see were buy or no time wasters. Even if you put no time wasters, you're still going to end up with time wasters. It's just part of selling your car. Here's an example of a good listing. We have lots of pictures from all angles, inside and out, and we have some proof of service history, and it clearly shows all the imperfections like dents, scratches and rust, so I'd know exactly what I'm getting. They even give some more info on the bad bits in a description. You've listed your car, someone now wants to come and view it, but the next thing is vitally important, and that's making sure that they're even insured to drive the damn thing. Now, how many times have you had somebody come over to the car and go, oh, it's okay, we've got a trade policy, we're covered. Well, just prove it. Don't let them drive the vehicle unless they got substantial evidence to prove they legally can. Now look, I understand that you have to be able to let someone drive the car if they are potentially going to buy it. But I'll give you another example of something that happened. And I should have seen it a mile off because I thought they were so eager about this car. Some girl turned up with her friend and they took it for a test drive. They came back. And the bloke said, he goes, oh, she really loved this car. This is the one. She's absolutely in love with it. She'll come back tomorrow. She'll put a deposit down or something tomorrow, but she doesn't want to do it right now because she's going to see another car. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And then I messaged him back, and then the friend, the man, he texted me saying, she really liked it, but I think she'd never driven one before, so she just wanted to see what they were like. So basically, I've become a track day experience. And then there was another situation earlier in the year when I first tried to sell this car. Some chap come over and he goes, where's the bonnet catch? I said, oh, it's in the front. He started yanking it and I could hear him doing it. And then he got out of the car, looked at me and goes, this has got a broken bonnet catch. You never put that down on the listing. I was like, mate, I heard you. I was glancing at you. You were yanking that. And then he goes, oh, for that reason, oh, I don't think I'll buy it because if it's got a broken bonnet catch, that's going to tell me that the bonnet's been up quite a few times, so it could have problems. So I think the moral of the story is keep your eye on these people who are coming to look at it. What are they really doing? And if they do test drive it, don't let them drive like maniacs. But also make sure they pay legitimately, whether it's through your bank or they pay you cash. If it's a bank transfer, do not hand them over the keys or any documents until that money has landed in your account. Anyone who says, oh, we'll pay you later, come on, it's definitely a scam. Selling privately takes more work, but it gives you the best chance of getting the car's true value. Prepare it properly, be honest in the advert, and only hand over that V5 once the money is securely in your own account. Now, I've got a question for you in the comments. If you've ever sold a car privately, let me know. What is the strangest offer or weirdest experience you've ever had with selling your car? I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.